Hi, everybody. Welcome to SnapLabs TV. My name is Tim White, your host, and I couldn't be more excited about our guest today, Jeremiah Stone, SnapLogic's Chief Technology Officer. A lot to get through today, so let's get started. Thanks, everybody, for joining me here at SnapLabs TV. I'm super excited for our guest today, Jeremiah Stone, our Chief Technology Officer here at SnapLogic.
It's great to be here with you, Tim.
Yeah. Can you tell us just a little bit about you and your role here at SnapLogic?
Sure, absolutely. So at SnapLogic, we operationalize the role of the CTO, and my job ultimately is to ensure that we learn incredibly quickly and incredibly well, and that we encapsulate those learnings in a variety of ways, either in the way that we build our products and services, in the way that we deliver them, and the way that we deliver education. So I'm responsible both for the business and technology strategy for the company, or the teams that do that, as well as then delivery via enterprise architecture, via professional services, and via our Sigma framework for operational best practices, and really driving operational excellence through delivering projects that matter. And really getting to market as quickly as possible, whether to market means employees, customers, or trading partners, and really just ripping the cost and time out of enterprise IT and supporting our overarching mission of driving the human cost of integration to zero.
That's a super powerful statement. You interact with a lot of customers that are exploring AI, deploying AI, trying to figure out where it fits in. Have you had any recent conversations with customers or with prospects or people just generally in the field that you'd be willing to share with us about their interactions with becoming AI ready, deploying AI, and looking for how to best use AI in the enterprise?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really blessed. I'm fortunate to be speaking with and interacting with, partnering with, I think, more companies and professionals on the planet than anybody I know, certainly here or otherwise. And by virtue of having spent now 26 years building and shipping complex solutions in the enterprise space, my first job today we would call data science. I actually worked as a research assistant at the National Center for Atmospheric Research, building large-scale weather models to help civil aviation be more safe, and have been in the industrial space, in the healthcare space, help financial services, et cetera. So have some credentials in the space and a point of view. And what we're seeing right now is, at least in my career, and I volunteered on a board of the Computer History Museum, I would dare say across the entire span of our industry, we're in a really unique moment that has happened very infrequently, and that is a true greenfield moment where we have a technology change that creates the ability to access problems that could not ever be supported by technology before. And that's really fascinating. So in terms of AI, machine learning, advanced predictive analytics, we've been delivering hardcore value for decades. And whether you're in healthcare or industrials, most people don't realize that the invisible fabric of our societies already runs on AI. And there's large-scale machine learning at work, whether it's operating the power grid, helping airlines operate more effectively, helping with disaster relief, things like that. That's already in play. What has not been in play, though, is really in terms of what we tend to think of as delivery of business processes, because the AI we've tended to use has been either numerically predictive, so predicting the next number in a sequence, whether that is the temperature in an engine or the transaction, in a credit card processing, or categorization. Is something fraudulent? Is it not fraudulent? That's kind of the world's, either predictive or discriminatory has been how we've treated or deployed artificial intelligence. What we have now is the ability, however, to now compute large scales of text, of audio, of imagery, and that is very early days. But what we're starting to see is that we can take on problems in the business world that we've never approached with technology previously. And what's really interesting is many of the people I'm speaking with are coming to the realization that they don't have tools to discover and manage and understand those problems. And the tools that we have are very much focused on transactional business processes, order to cash, right? An order is placed, it gets reviewed, gets fulfilled, gets billed, then it ends
linear
up in
processes.
And linear process can be tremendously complex, but you can make a flowchart. And that flowchart has state. You can think of status and action across that process. What we're seeing now with large language models in particular is now we can start to help in the business world with processes or business activities, if you will, that sit side by side with these transactional processes, but they're not transactional at all.
Yeah.
And an example, there's a tremendously fascinating amount of innovation going on right now in the payroll world, believe it or not, payroll industry. But it's not in calculating payroll or delivering paychecks, it's in reconciling payroll. Something that was tremendously difficult to automate previously was handled by armies of humans in spreadsheets effectively, but it was the people cross-checking all of the work to make sure that maybe union rules were followed appropriately or regular rate of pay was calculated appropriately, et cetera. Now using both traditional AI and the world of language models to approach these processes and rules and interpret those rules is amazing. In our own space, we've rolled out an internal use case that is cut our monthly close by about 30%, taking 90% out of manual processing, has actually increased our revenue intake by about 3%. And yet it was a process that was never written down. It was, our senior controller handling our order form reconciliation with our internal processes. So how we discover these processes, how we understand them, how we measure productivity before and after are just not tools that most organizations have. And on the one hand, it's incredibly exciting because this is a real greenfield opportunity. On the other hand, it's incredibly frustrating because all of our tools are brownfield tools. They're dealing with processes we understood, we know the problem domain, and we can apply better technology to it. And those tools are not necessarily a great fit for this greenfield world.
How are people, that's a great explanation and way in depth, so thank you for that. How are data leaders or I guess AI leaders, how are they going about finding these use cases or finding these different problems to solve with AI? Did they just kind of whatever hits their desk, or how do they find these problems?
What I'm seeing is that there's a tremendous amount of courage to allocate budget to AI and a tremendous amount of trepidation to release budget for AI. So we want to invest in this. We believe this is real. This is going to be impactful for our industry. We will be disrupted or we will disrupt. No discussion around that. Where to invest and how to invest in it, tons of concern and trepidation. And what I'm seeing by sort of early success is a lot of early success and a lot of early failure. It's almost a coin toss right now where investments are happening if they're going to play out and yield value. And I think most of where I'm seeing a lot of success is where you are finding business leaders and technology leaders in a very lean way, having a very iterative approach to either going very deep and linear on an existing, what would be called like Pathfinder projects, where you're looking
or like a
sort of, but they're typically anchored in a like top line KPI. So one of our customers we work very closely with, we'll see them at Integrate, Spirent Technologies. Like the top line key performance indicator is sales productivity. That's a big number. So many things feed into it, but I think that both gives clarity of purpose and freedom to experiment or find opportunities within that KPI. Internally on our case, the top line was time to close the books. Right? That's a very large, complex KPI that has a lot of things feeding into it. But there, we had a technical leader and a business leader that just worked on how can we approach that one problem. And it is, to a certain extent, iterative and experimental. And I think where we are seeing is the early adopters of the, let's say, individual tooling, ChatGPT Enterprise, Claude Enterprise, those kind of things, people that leaned into that past the first day of gee whiz, can I generate a recipe or something like that? And actually tried to help them in their daily work, maybe have a private account that they're using at work. Those people tend to have explored the feasibility of these tools and now have a very good intuition for where they'd be applicable. So those are kind of some early patterns. I've definitely seen leaders bemoan the fact that they have a lot of experimental POCs in place. They're burning a lot of time and energy in a hard to predict fashion. We've kind of gotten used to proof of concept really means de-risking something we really already understand. Not a true proof of technology that is like a 90% failure, 10% success. We're used to 80% success, and we're seeing more 50-50 at best.
Are you seeing companies struggling with shadow AI or like people using AI without permission and like off to the side?
Absolutely. I think there is a near 100% probability that unless there is really, really good firewall-based blocking of the, IP ranges or whatever of these companies, that they're being used without sanctioning of their organizations. And that's simply because look, we are a species that appreciates tools and like to do things better, and people are going to always seek a better way to do things, whether it's just, out of expedience or creativity or sloth, I don't know, but, people are going to do this anyway. I think that's definitely going to happen. What is not necessarily happening, though, is that the organizations people are working with and give them not only permission, but a sense of accountability to then apply those for the competitiveness of the company. And that's the other cultural difference. Yeah, is I'm definitely finding the organizations that are successful with this technology have not only given permission to explore and understand it, but a sense of responsibility to explore, understand, and find applications and be steadfast and determined that is going to happen. And that's hard. It is definitely hard to make that a common understanding throughout an organization.
What are the challenges that, a few of the challenges that companies are facing when trying to deploy or discover these new technologies? So we're thinking about, we found a use case, or we found this problem we want to solve. We have the budget. What are kind of the big hurdles or the big boulders that companies are running into and trying to deploy or, become AI ready? What are the things that they're running into?
I think we see 3 or 4 things that are pretty common. Some of them are the nature of the business, some of the nature of technology. I think first and foremost, most of these technologies, all these technologies are really immature for the enterprise. They leapt from academia to, the most popular applications ever to exist over a weekend. Yeah. So they haven't gone through a maturation and hardening cycle for enterprise environments. I think that's a common issue, that they, these tools have really gone from the lab bench to desired production very, very quickly. So incompatible technology, I would say that would be one. 2 would be you sort of isolated and inaccessible or incompatible data. So these tools, what do they want? They want documents, they want images, they want audio files, which are often images of the audio, right? So spectrogram is the way most audio models work. Most business data is in a structured, relational state, or in documents that are not necessarily easily accessible or, hooked up to the enterprise landscape, because there's nothing that automates the usage of them. Yeah. So you've got, technology that's incompatible. You've got data that's inaccessible, skill shortages. Again, this stuff was just invented last night. It's brand new. You don't have people.
You don't have 20 years experience in this?
I do, but very few people do. Yeah. And I actually went back and got a graduate degree in natural language processing when it was maturing, right? Yeah. That's pretty unusual. And then the final piece is just really opaque financial risk. Most of these models have a token-based pricing model. Yeah. Right? So what is that?
Where's the line item for that? Yeah.
What does it even mean? How do you predict what your costs are going to be? And it's a challenging financial environment. So let's think about that: incompatible technology, inaccessible data, lack of skills, and opaque pricing models. Those are very common challenges that people are facing with this, and in many ways are things that are very difficult to assemble the team of solution providers and expertise to be able to access that. But the really great news, Tim, is that on all of those fronts, we're seeing tremendous success here at SnapLogic. Yeah. I think we're pretty much an outlier in this regard. We think about, the technology not being accessible to the landscape. All we do is help technology work well with each other. Yeah. Freeing up the data. We, by genius or luck, have a real-time document processing engine. We are all about enablement and empowerment of smart people doing hard things. And controlling pricing is something we can help with as well. So that's the kind of joy that we have right now, is we have a sort of this unique opportunity to help explore that problem space, get things through the gauntlet of uncertainty and into production. And as I go throughout the market, I don't know anybody that has 5 to 10 in production referenceable enterprise customers, and we're fortunate to be that way. And so we're sort of in this little bubble in the future, and eager to help, and really anybody in the community. This is a movement as much as anything else. So exciting to be it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, the cutting edge. We're right here. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeremiah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have today here at SnapLabs TV. Thank you to our special guest, and thank you to all of you for joining us here today. We'll see you next time.